there were so many things that I needed to be doing to heal what we found out eventually was mold toxicity and mast cell activation and dysautonomia. But at that point, it was almost like I was too far gone, that all the things that you would think and know and research is out there to do, I couldn't do any of those things, like take glutathione or do a hot sauna or any of those things that like would be prescribed. So basically most of the physicians I saw in later years were just kind of like, it was a toss up. They didn't know what to do. Nobody knew what to do. I mean, you and I have talked about this. Mast cell activation only became a diagnosis in 2016. And my symptoms started in 2016, you know, so there's not a lot of information about like, how do you help a person with mast cell, especially a person who has mast cell that has it because they have mold, you know? So how do you treat the mold? It's like the chicken and the egg. Where do you start? Do you start at her brain, or do you start at the mold, or do you start with the reactions? Where do you start? So just a lot of different physicians with different opinions, and everyone unfortunately was kind of making me worse. As I continued doing more and more treatment and trying more things, I kept reacting more and getting worse and worse, which was so frustrating.
Definitely. Right. When Kristie came in, what we started to understand for her case specifically was that certainly the mast cell was driving everything else. And she had already known that she had mold toxicity before she came in. So we understood some of those mechanisms. Then you throw COVID into the mix. Mm-hmm. And now the neurological implications of these inflammatory processes had really set in.
Yeah.
So generally what I see with other clinicians is that sometimes people will want to fix and go right for the mast cell issues and the immune mediation issues. And for a lot of people, that is a great route and is the right route because that was the primary issue for you.
Mm-hmm.
However, by the time you got to me, Kristie, you were so sensitive, like you already touched on, to the world around you in general. I mean, you could eat anything and you were having neurological complications just from eating the food. So we needed to come in through a different route. And this is the part I really want people to understand, is that if you do have mast cell and you have some immune complications and you've now developed neurological issues, sometimes we need to backtrack the reverse way. And that's what we did for you. You had exhausted a lot of other options, like you said, the leaky gut protocols and some things that work for a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
But in this world that I live in terms of the patient population that I see, it's a very, very sensitive population. So sometimes we have to go a little bit of a different route, and less is definitely more. I feel like we talked about that every week you were here.
Yeah.
Even when it came to, I took you off a whole bunch of supplements.
Yeah. And turmeric is so healthy. Turmeric is a great supplement, anti-inflammatory. Like, it feels like almost everybody should be on it, but after 24 hours of me being on it, I couldn't breathe. Right.
Yep. We took you off that. We took you off some other ones that you were given by your other provider.
Yep.
I didn't really change what you were eating because you were already on a really restrictive diet, but I changed like how you were eating. Mm-hmm. So smaller meals, chewing your food more, like being more mindful, like slowing down when you're eating.
Yep.
And then we mainly drove this from a neurological rehab perspective. Mm-hmm. And most people, when they have immune complications, they don't think about what their brain is doing to mediate the immune system. These things are interconnected. Mm-hmm. So this is what, I absolutely love about my job in general, is how fascinating the brain is. And that we actually primarily targeted your nervous system and reintegrated that information. And your mast cells started getting better without doing anything else, supplements or diet, low histamine, this and all those things. We were able to target this from a neurological rehab perspective and affect your immune system.